Evening, everyone. Gaz here from Celtic FC Appreciation Podcast. Joining me tonight is John Tierney, fellow pundit, TikTok star. He's been on the show many a time. John, how you doing, mate?
Fantastic, Gary.
That's it. Feeling champion. So as I say, first a shout out to Anthony Joseph, Sky Sports editor, reporter. Couldn't be with us tonight. He was meant to be on the show, but he's really down with I don't know if it's a viral condition. He's really not well. So our best wishes to him, and obviously we'll try and get him on the show at some point next season. Couple of sponsors, obviously 67 Tees are still sponsoring the podcast. I'm not really sure what the plan is as yet for next season, whether we're going to come back. Going to be working on stuff in the summer, so we'll see. But we've got another couple of new sponsors possibly for the podcast. We've got the Wee Tea Company, which is a tea and coffee company that just started up last year. They are based in Dunfermline in the Kingsgate Shopping Centre. They do over 35 different brands. Some of them are absolutely fantastic. If you drink tea as much as me, definitely get onto them. And as I say, just give them a mention if you're online and you happen to get hold of them. They actually sent me this week kind of wee book of tea and coffee, different teas and coffees kind of thing. So a few of them have already gone. And also our friends at Iconic Sporting Moments. I think I've got that right. I'm just going to bring this down. Is this it? So this is basically what they do is they get reenactments of famous sport moments, not just from football, but from all different sports. They reenact the goals or the moments. They've got the commentary, all the dates. It doesn't come in the frame, I don't think, but I just obviously got it in the frame, and it's above my wee desk if I can get it back up there without it falling. So get back, got onto them Iconic Sporting Moments. I think they're priced around $7.99 for the prints. And honestly, I'm running out of space in my house to put some of them up. So, as I say, guys, this is the season review. What a season it was for Ange. League and Cup double. John, obviously, at the start of the season, I don't think any of us could have imagined what was ahead. Are you really surprised by the success that we've had?
Well, if you could write a Hollywood script, I think Celtic have wrote it this year. From where we were this time last season to the time we are now, we won a cup double, including the league, it's been remarkable. And I think that Ange, all the players deserve all the credit. And it all started with that hat-trick from Kyogo, which was just, I think that was the start. And since then, we've just ploughed on with that style of football, brought in players that have fitted right into the system. And in the end, the season has been just a tremendous success compared to what we've had, particularly last season. So credit to Ange, credit to all the players.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we had Paul McClelland's welcome to the show, James Boy Anderson. Listen, guys, if you've got any questions or comments about this season, about next season, get them into us and we'll try and get through them. As I said, John, it's we had Scott McIntyre as Australian journalist on at the start of the season, and he was waxing lyrical about Ange, and it really made me kind of almost buy into the philosophy, because I was a bit unsure. I was very much in the Eddie Howe camp, and at the start of the season, I think like most people kind of were, and maybe people were thinking, who's Ange Postecoglou? And I can always remember him saying, the comment he says was, Ange Postecoglou is nobody's second prize. And my God, we fell in love with the guy. Absolutely fell in love with him, as he said last week at his speech. Fell in love with him and his jumper. I don't know if the jumper's here to stay next year. Maybe he'll get a wee bit. He'll get a bit more attire. But I mean, even when you look back at it, John, the start of the season, I think the starting lineup against Hearts, there was players like Dane Murray in there. Edward was still there. Christie was still there. It's just Anthony Ralston was obviously not everyone's cup of tea at the start of the season, but the players that he has kind of transformed. Ralston especially, I think he ended up on 10 assists and I don't know how many goals. It shows you how good a manager the guy actually is when he can transform players that were maybe on the way out at Celtic.
He's absolutely tremendous. Tremendous is the word. The best possible player it's been remarkable. Again, a fantastic player, but again this season he's been set on fire by Ange, and obviously we're sad to see him go. Very sad. We'll probably come on to it later. But yeah, Ange has gotten the best out of the players. It seems to have all kind of fitted into how Ange's wanted the season to go. I think he sort of maybe had a blueprint in his head that maybe us as Celtic fans never really appreciated throughout the course of the season. But
yeah,
Ange's always had that blueprint. He's always had that managerial kind of remit to be very shrewd in his decision making, and he knows what he expects from players. And I think obviously what's helped is the 5 substitutes, because he's maximised every bit of talent out of every bit of player at just at the right moments, and he's done very, very well. Barring 1 or 2 games, it's been a very, very good season.
Yeah, and just apologies for anybody that lost the sound kind of there. Obviously, you were saying about Rogic, in the way he's transformed him this season. Very, very sad scenes. Obviously, last weekend at Celtic Park. Were you in tears, John? Were you one of the many?
Mate, I had a TikTok video of the review, and it was literally just whilst I was crying. I thought, I absolutely love Tom. His contribution's been tremendous throughout the season, but over the 9.5 years, I mean, you think of all the remarkable, amazing, phenomenal moments we've had as Celtic fans where Tom Rogic has been involved, whether it be a game in a Glasgow derby or whether it be a goal versus Aberdeen to secure a treble. He's always been there, and he's always sort of smiled, and you think, wow, he's incredible, and his feet are just phenomenal. It is gutting to see him go, but obviously if he wants to move on, that's okay. He's been there for a long time. Good on him, man, but we'll miss him.
Yeah, and obviously another player we're going to miss is Nir Beaton, another great servant to the club. 9 years at the club, he really took it to heart, kind of thing, and I think in the interview and the build up to the weekend's game there, you could see the emotions were just pouring out of him. The reception he got as well. He's not a flashy player like Tom Rogic is, but he's a grafter that gets the job done. He'll play in any position for the manager, and he has done. Obviously, he's played in defence. He's played in midfield. I think the only place he's not probably played in apart for goals is up front, and I'm sure he can. We know he can bang them in.
Yeah, you're right. Beaton has been a player that, again, he could play in any position, barring being a striker, of course. But he's been a player that has shown quality when it's required. Again, Beaton, the one thing you maybe could be critical of is the fact that he had so many red cards and bookings throughout his career. Needless bookings and needless, decisions. But notwithstanding that, he's been here a long time, fantastic servant, and he's turned up time and time again. He's done a job for us, whether we like it or not, rightly or wrongly. It's been a job nonetheless. And yeah, fantastic servant. Sad to see him go, and I think he really took it to heart leaving Celtic, because it's again a long time coming. The same way with Tom Rogic. Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at the transfers, obviously that Ange brought a lot of players in during the summer, especially. Players like Kyogo, like Starfelt, Abada, Juranovic, Giakoumakis, Joe Hart, who's been one of the signings this season. I think I've seen in one of the pages that our deadline day in the summer consisted of Carter Vickers, Giakoumakis, and Jota, which on probably back then you would have probably thought that this could be good. Looking back in it now, it was a phenomenal deadline day trio of signings kind of thing.
the signings this year, Gary, have been they've been like nothing else. Every player has hit the ground running. Every player has bought into Ange's philosophy, bought into the way in which Ange wants his football. They've lived up to the standards in which Celtic fans probably never expected, but they lived up to them anyway. The consistency in the team, the energy in the team, the drive, the movement. It's been just a season of relentless. And I think what's quite poignant this season, and we'll hopefully see more next season, is how driven the players are. The players are so determined to give everything they've got to the system to get success, to scoring a last minute winner against Dundee United, scoring against Rangers, a hat-trick in the first half. Just determination to win has been tremendous. Ever that run that we are on of winning streaks, or not beating streaks, has kept us going in the league. But it's been really, really, really good, and I honestly can't wait for next season just for more.
Yeah, as you say, like it's the players will be burned out. It's been a long, hard season. Will be Europe, the Cups, League, the fact that we've delivered a double. And the good thing is, as we said before we came on, that we get a bit of peace and quiet for a few weeks because there's no qualifiers in July. We go straight into the group stage, which we'll touch on a wee bit later. But just in terms of then players that went out, obviously big names like Odsonne Edouard, Christy Faraya, Ryan Christie especially, kind of thing. Scott Brown, missing him obviously in the midfield. Were you slightly worried at the start of the season with the start that we had at Tynecastle, obviously losing the opening game?
I think we were just a bit deflated anyway from the damage that was done last season. I think it was just a sort of continuation of that, and I think what we sort of expected was Ange would maybe take a full year to bed in the players, to get a system going, to see things, to see changes. Maybe he needed a couple of transfer windows, but the players existing bought into the system. You look at Ryan Christie, who right at the start of the season contributed towards Kyogo's goals, that game against Dundee. Those sort of games have been, where Ange has made every player buy into the system, will it be anyone else? But obviously Ange expects energy levels, he expects quality, and he's not afraid to get shot of these guys. And I know that you look at Christie and Edouard and think top quality players, and there's obviously they've been great for Celtic, but you look at it now, who would you rather have, Kyogo and Maeda or Giakoumakis, or would you rather have Edouard? So this is a question that we'll probably come on to later, but it's very much a Ange masterclass in terms of transfers.
Yeah, definitely. Paul McClellan says Beaton played anywhere he was needed for the team. The club loved him. I'm sure there will be more magic, but we won't forget the magic from Tom Rogic. Danny Bowie says Big Beaton was class, always a banker. I nearly misread that on Bet Builder for the cards, for a card. Paul McLean also says, what player has had the biggest transformation this season, guys? I'll start. Starfelt. That's a good shout for Starfelt. I've got to be honest and say Ralston, because I didn't think there was a player in Ralston at Celtic.
Why do you think Ralston has came on so well?
I don't know if it's just that Ange has backed him, that Ange has shown the confidence in him, that he's maybe put his arm around him and says, that you are a first team player. I've got a feeling that he was kind of thrown in almost as if he was never really meant to play the full season. I think he was always meant to be a makeshift player, and then Ange just kind of looked at him. He looked at his work rate, he looked at his goals and his assists, and thought, I've got a player here. And he's obviously worked with him throughout the season. So as much as Starfelt's improved, I think for me, Ralston has definitely been the biggest improvement.
And what about the other side? Your left back, Taylor?
Taylor's like Marmite. For me, you love him or you hate him. And I always think Taylor will do a job for you domestically. But I don't see him playing in the Champions League next year. I see us going out and getting a proper quality left back, the European kind of side of things.
I think I somewhat disagree. I think Taylor's been fantastic in his turnaround and his play, and moving into Ange's system. He seemed to be a player that obviously Juranovic has been fantastic, but notwithstanding that, Taylor has played alongside Juranovic at the other side, and I thought he's been doing a great job. In terms of his defending, in terms of going into his system, going up the park and doing small passes. But they've been great passes. They've been getting the likes of Jota in behind, or getting Maeda to the byline, or Kyogo. It just depends whoever's at the byline. But Taylor's been very good in my opinion. And I think he's probably one of my biggest improvement guys this year. But I just seen a comment saying Giakoumakis, and that's a very good shout as well, isn't it?
Aye, it is, because, as I say, we'll touch on a Giakoumakis moment that we all know kind of midway through the first half of the season that could have defined him, but thankfully didn't. But no, I just think, like, there's so many players in that team that were probably thinking, they're not going to be here next year. And obviously we had a bad season last year. Everybody had a bad season. But I can remember going on record at the start of the season, before a ball was kicked in, saying, I don't think there needs to be a massive overhaul, because my opinion was players like Edward, Ayer, Christie, who were getting absolutely dog's abuse and slated. My point was that these guys have won not just a treble, but a quadruple treble together. So you don't become a bad team overnight. I just thought it was a bad season. I thought everybody had a bad season and we kept shooting ourselves in the foot. But I thought there was winners in there. And I still think there's certain players that Ange could have kind of moulded in his own kind of play that had they stayed. I think Ayer could have been, for me, Ayer especially, I think could have been a great player still for us.
I think you're right, Gary. I think you look at the players that were there. Christie, again, fantastic. Edward, of course. But you had last season, you had the likes of Neil Lennon, making decisions, that were a little bit like roulette. It was like Russian roulette, in terms of who's going to play centre half. Why are we doing, a centre half pairing? The energy levels just looked a bit low last season. Lots of shots that were over the bar from distance. I just thought that Christie just kept shooting over the bar constantly, although he was a good player. And there was players that were very good last season, like Turnbull, and again, he's started to hopefully mould into the team now. But Turnbull hasn't played a massive part in this season, but you can tell he's been a great player, and he's obviously been sort of plagued by injury. But it's massive this season. This season's just been one turnaround that I don't think we could ever have expected. I think the energy levels of the Celtic team have just gone up, but the Japanese boys have brought something completely different. And I'll particularly say Kyogo has brought, I think, the first glimpse of what we could genuinely see as improvement that Ange could make, getting in behind and being that last man to finish off and scoring fantastic goals. But his pace has been fantastic, and I think it's been a blueprint for every player this season. So, if you're going to thank somebody this season, I would thank Kyogo for starting all off.
I think when you look at his goals, his contribution to the team, obviously overall, I know he was injured for long spells, but when you look back to that 6-0 game, I'm kind of fortunate, and I've not get to every game this season, but I've been to the 3 times that we've won 6-0, Dundee, St Mirren and Motherwell. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's. I remember that Dundee game, and Kyogo. That was the first kind of glimpse we've seen of what a player Kyogo can be. His movement, his goals. He's so likable as well. Do you know what I mean? When you see him, he's just like you just want to put your arm around him. And when you look at him, obviously he scored a hat trick that day. That was probably the birth of Ange Ball, I suppose you could say. Because it was the first glimpse. Obviously, we'd lost to Hearts at Tynecastle. We'd already went to the Champions League qualifiers, but we're in the Europa League group stage. So I think that was the kind of platform for us to really go and build something from there.
It certainly was. And throughout the season, you've had fantastic results. And you even look at, the bad results. I think, even against St Mirren, I remember in December with a 0-0 draw at New St Mirren Park, and it was quite difficult. You had obviously Mikey Johnson on the left, you had Moffat in the right, or vice versa, and
Yeah.
you just couldn't get in behind. So you've got to say the season has been, I think the season has been that the standouts are sort of like shown. So the standouts for me personally would be Jota and then Abada either side to begin with, and then later on Maeda and obviously through the middle Giakoumakis. I think they in a attacking sense, in a striking sense, we became very powerful, and you've seen that throughout the context of games. You've also seen goals from all over the park. I mean, Hatate scoring goals. You've seen Rogic scoring plenty of goals. Obviously, sad to see him go. O'Reilly starting to chip in now. You've seen David Turnbull score. Honestly, the list goes on. Maeda, Abada's been fantastic. Jota, honestly, I cannot explain how amazing Celtic have been this season in an attacking sense, but it's just getting those players up the park has been so impressive. Consistently, and not many teams have been able to stop us in terms of our system. Do you think there's been any teams that have stopped us in our system?
No, really. I mean, it's difficult to say because I think a lot of teams have still kind of sat 10 men behind the ball and made it frustrating for us. And I can remember probably the Dundee United game. I would say, although we dominated the game, it was getting that frustrating way. And I think if Abada doesn't score that winner in the last minute of the game, then it doesn't just mean we drop 2 points that day. It means potentially do we go in and win the league, because at that point that was a game that got us, I think, level with Rangers before we played them midweek and beat them 3-0. So it's moments like that you can watch teams play against you and stick every man behind the ball. Livingston have done it at Celtic Park as well. Nearly, well, we did get a 0-0 draw. So it's you don't want to see teams playing like that, but you can understand why they play like that, especially when they go to Celtic Park or Ibrox.
Aye, and what I would say as well, Gary, see the Bodo Gimp game, Bodo Glimp, home and away. I felt as though, we maybe could have done better in those games, but I felt as though that Bodo Glimp team took us apart, and I don't know how they took us apart, but they just seemed to have a system which seemed to work against Celtic very, very well, that's been probably the only saddened game I've been at, was the two Bodo Glimp games, but again we can't complain too much. The season domestically has been tremendous.
Yeah, and a special mention, obviously, Paul says, for Captain Cal. What a guy.
Without doubt, Gary, the energy levels within Callum McGregor's locker has been battery powered. He's just a battery. He just runs constantly every single game he's played this season. I don't know any game he's not started in and not put a shift in. He's been the masked man, the Phantom of the Opera. He's been the Phantom, the battery of the opera. I think he's been just tremendous in the way his work rate, in the way he leads the team. And I think you've got to think this is a captain for the future. This is a guy who wants the best out of Celtic. He loves Celtic, and you can tell with the passion that he's got that he wants to continue exactly what Scott Brown done. He wants to lead that mantle, and fair play to him. It's hopefully coming to fruition, and he's getting the best out of the players run about him.
That's it. I mean, I doubted whether he had it in him, because I think we were just so used to seeing Bruni so vocal and so dominant in that team, and I think he was just obviously soaking it all up in the background, obviously learning the best of him, and it was great to see him lift the trophy at the weekend. You can see how much it meant to him and his family, and obviously when you look at just picking out some games, obviously our second defeat of his season to Rangers, obviously at Ibrox. Philip Palander scored in the second half. A game we pretty much, I don't want to say we dominated, but we should have won. when you look at how well we actually played that day. We've played worse at Ibrox and won. And so to play that well and not win was really, really disheartening. Do you think at that point, I don't know if you remember that back that far, but I mean, do you think at that stage, did you think this isn't going to be our season?
Not necessarily. I don't think, at any point, leagues aren't won in October, leagues aren't won in September or August or any time in the first 3 months of a season. So you've got to give it time to bed in. I think even losing a game like that isn't the end of the world when you start seeing signs. Kyogo playing, in that second half, I remember him missing a good chance. And I remember that, quite well. But, that's obviously that is the fine margins of football. But, I think something in myself, I remember going on a radio show and somebody asked me, do you think Celtic won the league? And I said, yeah, I think we won the league. And that was back in October. And I still believed it because there was a system there that was implementing and the players were believing in it. And I don't think there was a player that wasn't believing in it. So I think that's the difference. It's a belief in the system and obviously keeping up with the fitness, the energy levels. And what I found impressive is, or I'll even ask you the question, Gary, how do these players do this at training? Do you think it's like that at training, that all this intensity? We obviously heard that, we'll never stop, we don't stop.
Yeah.
But do you think that the energy levels would be maintained at that high during training?
I think they must have been because I don't know, like when to run your team into the ground in training. Obviously there's light training sessions and heavy training sessions, and when we got treated to that training session, it was mic'd up. I don't ever remember that happening at Celtic, where you seen inside a training session where you heard the manager. And that speech just came back, and just at the end of the season, and obviously we never stop. We stop at half time. We stop at full time when we're celebrating. That was probably a moment, I think, coupled with the interview that I did on here, that I really bought into Angie's philosophy and thought I could see myself loving this guy. Like he gets it, and I do think there has to be a high intensity in training. Because when you've seen the games like, beating Dundee 6-0, St Mirren 6-0, it was relentless. Rangers 3-0 back in February. The pace of the team. Yeah. I mean, Rangers did not know what to do that night. They could not, you had Callum McGregor chasing Borna Barisic back into his near enough his own box. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was unbelievable. And I think there is an element, a risk of you could burn the team out. But I think Ange has already said today as well, he wants 2 players for every position, at least 2 players. And I think when you get that, and he knows who he's going to bring in the summer, hopefully, I think it will help us for especially the Champions League next season.
One thing I will say, Gary, see that recovery, obviously for every game, I think there's got to be a shout out to the Celtic physio department, in terms of getting players match ready for this, because you look at Ange, he's came over from the other side of the world and he's brought himself, and yes, he might have his blueprints, but to maintain the energy levels in which he expects, the physio team would have had to be very clued up on, how these players are going to recover. Is it going to be intensive at training? How they're going to be match fit for the weekend? Now, bearing in mind, you had the likes of Kyogo going and getting injured against St Johnstone. That was a blow, and him being out for a while. But notwithstanding that, I can't think of too many injuries. I know there was injuries throughout the season, but the physio department deserves a lot of credit for getting all these players match fit.
Yeah, I think as you say, I think at one point we were struggling up front, especially with Giacomakis been out, Kyogo been out, and I think we went through a wee barren spell where, we drew with Dundee United at home, and fans were starting to get tetchy. Livy, obviously, we drew at home. That could have been a real game turner, kind of early on in the season. But when you look at the Europa League games, we have had some highs and some lows in it. The opening game, unbelievable game. Of football against Real Betis, top La Liga side. They beat us 4-3 eventually, but to go over there and go 2-0 up and potentially, I think we had a chance to go 3-0 up, which would have killed the game. Did you think there was a difference in Celtic in Europe from obviously last season?
Totally. I think there was, this energy level that, again, Ange wanted the style of football implemented early on, and even the likes of Ayeti scoring, that's fantastic. Ayeti again, probably not the best energy levels, but he's kept it going. One thing about that game, I mean, I managed to sneak into the ground for the last 5 minutes of it, and I remember them scoring. Me and my mate, and we just walked out after and thought, we've witnessed Celtic playing the most impressive style of football, that I can imagine. And, again, we showed it in Europe that we could win, obviously notwithstanding the fact that we were a bit unlucky not to get through. I still think it was, it was okay. And you started seeing signs of how Ange ball would work. But now, next season, Champions League, again, are we going to keep going? That's the question.
Well, that's it. You've then got to step it up, because obviously, you beat Ferencvaros. I think we beat Real Betis as well at home, which was unexpected because it was a rubber game and there was nothing to play for. But just in terms of going back to, obviously domestically, League Cup against Hearts fairly early on in the season, we won 3-2 at Celtic Park. It will look like we were coasting, as Celtic usually do. They make it tough for themselves, and you end up, you can see the late goal, but we held on to go into the quarterfinals. How important a win was that for Ange at that stage, especially after losing to Hearts in the league?
Well, I think it was important as every other game this season. It's been a season where Ange just came in and he's decided that every single player either comes on board or else just doesn't come on board the system. And the ones that did choose to come on board were rewarded, because I think the expectation at the start of the season was we would get a lot of, we would concede a lot, and we would score more, but we would concede a lot. So it was sort of, we're going to play this football, and this is the speed, and this is the standards, and this is how it's going to pan out. We'll score lots of goals, but we'll concede. In that game against Hearts, we definitely conceded. Even you mentioned there the game against Betis. You've got games that we did concede in a few times, but you can tell, like, even this season, defensively we've improved over the course of the season, and I think Ange just hopefully kept that in the back of his mind, that whilst we're all fine and well going forward defensively, if we can be really good defensively as well, we're a force to be reckoned with. So it's been impressive, but that game certainly was a stickler.
I think that's the thing that's important as well. That the back five this season especially kind of almost picks themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, as I said, Juranovic can play left back or right back. Ralston will play some games, but not all the games because of Juranovic. But just to go through the comments, keep the comments coming in, guys. Kieran Gallagher says, "Let's hope Hearts beat Rangers tomorrow." P.S. John Tierney sacked.
I'll take that.
At least you're getting a mention. Keith from Come On Hoops Celtic, give his page a like, his YouTube. I know he's doing a lot of videos. He's done a video about Jota on the brink, apparently, according to Portuguese press. Sooner we get him back for Ibiza, the better. Paul McClellan, great show as always, guys. Paul Malone, also wee John Tierney, TikTok sensation. What a boy, hail both of you. Danny Bowie says, as I said, imagine we got Eddie Howe, Big Ange, best signing, as William McDonald says as well. I think when you look at that, John, as well, when you look at the whole Eddie Howe saga, it seemed to rumble on for weeks. Was there a part of you that was worried that we didn't get him, and that this guy, this Australian guy, had came in?
There was uncertainty. I don't know if I was worried, but it was certainly uncertainty. I think obviously we're talking, about this at the start of the season. We're talking about Eddie Howe, and he was going to bring his backroom team, and we were thinking, right, okay, let's try and get this over the line. Let's try and do this, and his background team wouldn't agree to whatever terms that Celtic had on the table, and as you said, it continued on, negotiation continued, and they just couldn't come to an agreement. Ultimately, it's been the best decision ever, I think, notwithstanding the fact that Eddie Howe's done all right in Newcastle, but Celtic have just taking the step up. I think what's impressive is as well is that Ange Postecoglou, came in as an outsider from Australia, having done well in the Australian leagues. He won with Melbourne, and obviously in Japan, he's won the league there. So he had a good pedigree, but I just felt as though, is he going to cut it in Scotland? And did you think he was going to have the impact that he would right away?
No. I was kind of in between, as I say, when I done that interview. I kind of relaxed a wee bit more. I seen the open mic thing, and I did buy into his philosophy a wee bit, but it was that kind of, this could be like a Tony Mowbray, John Barnes kind of season, do you know what I mean, where it could all come crashing down. Because the thing that was kind of worrying me, especially early on in his Celtic tenure, was he didn't show any emotion. Like, if games weren't going our way, or we were missing chances and being frustrated, he was just standing on the touchline, and he didn't seem to be showing any emotion. And you were almost wanting to give him a shake and go, shout at the players, or do something, or jump about, but that's not in his psyche. That's no his way of working, and you can see obviously now that he's starting to show a wee bit of emotion, and obviously getting over the line with the league and the League Cup and things like that. But you could see the emotion obviously last Saturday. The fact that I think the tears started to flow a wee bit, that he realised job done. But as he says, like, we need to come back stronger and bigger, and because Rangers will come back at us again. They might end up trophyless after tomorrow, hopefully. But I make no apologies for them losing the Europa League final. Honestly, you see all this rubbish. I don't know about you, but all this rubbish about you're meant to support a Scottish team and they're in a European final. Bollocks, absolute bollocks. I think rivalry is rivalry. Like, I think that's all right down in England when Man City fans can cheer on Manchester United if they're in a European final. That's absolutely fine. But I'm not having that, so I was delighted that they lost in Seville, to be honest. And hopefully Hearts does a turn them over and gives a party. But getting back to Celtic then, obviously the games against Aberdeen, as well as Hearts, have been tight. But the games against Aberdeen, especially at Pittodrie, you look at that late winner for Jota twice. The first one, Montgomery, I think it is, that cuts it back for him, and he fires it in with 6 minutes to go. And then I think the 3-2 game, this half of the season was a vital game as well, because it was a game we were cruising in, and we just had a momentum where we couldn't finish teams off at that stage.
I think you're right. That we had Ange didn't have the players on the team that he would like at the moment. He didn't have the the likes of like your Maedas or Giakoumakis on fire. He didn't have those, and it was fantastic seeing obviously even the young players buy into the system, and obviously Jota scored phenomenal goals those days, because Aberdeen, despite them not doing well this season, for us, they've been a little bit of a hard team to beat. I think, they've been one of the hard teams, obviously, probably catered off towards the end of the season. But I think Aberdeen's been very, a very good one that, we've came across. And, Jota again, this is where Jota on the wing, do we have a future with Jota? That's the question we've got to ask looking forward.
It's a Paddy Roberts dilemma, because we all fell in love with Paddy Roberts and he was on loan, and we all thought, he was going to be, we thought he was, we thought he was going to be the next big thing, and sadly it wasn't to be. So there's a danger of falling in love with certain players that are on loan. For me, I think Jota does have a future at Celtic, and I think he will sign. For me, I'm more worried about Carter Vickers because it's went very, very quiet on that front.
It has, and Carter Vickers has been this season. It's been very important, Carter Vickers, and I think even the games that you think, are we going to be secure defensively? Are we going to be, properly well equipped? Are we going to have problems at the back? Carter Vickers has stepped up, and he's been a tremendous. The fridge. We've always called him the fridge this season, and without doubt, he was my player this season personally. Just because of the consistency he showed and the fact that him and Starfelt decided to gain a partnership and work very well with each other. He was my player this season. You just hope that whilst it's all quiet, somewhere down the line, he's seen Jota sign and he's thinking, I want to play in the Champions League and I want it here with the noise.
Yeah.
Let's go again.
Yeah, as I was saying, and listen, for what we'll get him for, something like 5 million, 5.5 million, I think it's a snip for a centre back of that quality kind of thing. When you look at obviously a League Cup run on our way to Hampden, obviously I know you've been at a lot of games this season. I don't know if you got to the St Johnstone game at Hampden. Were you there?
I was there.
Yeah. An emotional night. Obviously, we'd recently lost Betty. Betty Old, and I can remember the start of the game and just the atmosphere with the fans. I think it was a 5:30 kickoff for a 6 o'clock kickoff. I think it was crazy, but it was Jota looked in the mood straight away, and it was one of the teams. We were talking earlier on about teams that kind of wear you down and don't try and let you play your normal brand of football. St Johnstone are probably in that category, and it wasn't till late on when the ball fell to James Forrest. What was the noise like in the stadium? When the relief inside the stadium, I suppose, when Forrest smashed that in.
It was excellent, and he caught it in the half volley as well. There was shouts for a penalty and stuff, and then Forrest just layered it into the net, and it was great. And that St Johnstone game was just another one in the line of games that was Angeball. It was just, but St Johnstone were, off the back of a double the season before, they want to keep up the record, they want to maintain the League Cup. Celtic obviously want to take the League Cup off them, and it was a game which Celtic had to dig a little bit deep to get that goal, and St Johnstone were digging deep as well to defend. So to get that across the line was great.
Yeah, and then obviously, we go on and we face Hibs in the final unexpectedly, I would probably say, because I think it wasn't Van Bronckhorst's first game in charge, but I think he'd been brought in that week, the week Gerrard left. So, I mean, did you think there was almost a sense of, I don't want to say we took him for granted, Hibs, because obviously Hibs did take the lead through Paul Hanlon, but I mean, what did you think of the final in terms of?
I thought, what I thought was it was either it was foggy or there was so much smoke from the smoke bombs, but you couldn't see a thing. I think it was foggy. That final in the League Cup, and what I took from it was Celtic are a team which will react, and they'll react fast. You have Kyogo, scoring right away, and I think that's where we learned that. Teams are the most susceptible when they've just scored, and obviously Hibs had just scored, and right away within I don't know what it was like a minute or something, Kyogo equalised. It was a long ball over the top, and Kyogo scored right away. And again, another fast bit of play. Tom Rogic with the quick thinking over the top into Kyogo, and what a finish for that chip. I mean, come on, like that is a fantastic finish, and I just felt as though. What we're doing is we're showing quality, but we're also showing how we should be playing football, how we should react in these games, because the easiest thing that Celtic could have done was, sort of build up from the back, we'll try and break down defences. But what we did was we actually reacted so quickly, getting a long ball up, and we scored right away. And I feel as though those sort of goals have been crucial this season.
Yeah. And I think obviously when you look at it, because it was Callum, I think it was Callum's ball that for the first goal. But as you say, the control to kill that ball stone dead and then fire it past the keeper at the near post. was absolutely unbelievable, and it was pivotal because I can remember saying to people the next day, the second Kyogo goal doesn't win the cup final. It's the first one, because if we don't score straight away after Hibs score, then they start to shut up shop, and we start to get frustrated, and then Hibs could have went on and won the cup. Do you know what I mean? And then who knows where that sends us for the rest of the season. But the fact that Kyogo just looked, he was playing on with an injury. It was a risk to play him. And I think that was the moment that we lost him for quite a considerable time after that.
Yeah, he was limping towards the end of the injury spell, but it was out of this world. See getting these goals, it was incredible, and I think from that point onwards there was a real belief. You seen Ange with the trophy. Ange got his first piece of silverware in Scotland. It was hailed all across the world. The Australians were loving it. Everyone was loving it, and I think even from down under there was belief that the system is still working, the system's still going, and they never ever stop.
Somebody should put that in a t-shirt. So you look at obviously, there's a massive game 4 days before that final in the league for us. We go to Dingwall, and we take the lead through Abada in the first couple of minutes. Ross County equalised through Baldwin, and then just when you think that you're starting to slip up in the league, you're starting to kind of fall behind. Of all players, for it to fall to Anthony Ralston in the 97th minute. For me, I know Tom Rogic gets goal of the season and Kyogo's winning against Hibs. For me, that's the goal of the season. Because there's nothing special about it. It's just a ball into the box. It's a header into top corner. But it's what it means for us. I think that's the goal that wins us the league.
I think that was one of the accelerators this season, for Celtic. I think that header, that leap, shows so much determination from Ralston. Ralston would honestly jump over a high flat to have got that. He honestly jumped as high as you can imagine and got a head on it, a strong head, and it was a fantastic finish. Obviously, there was a pitch invasion after. There was, there was just an element of overexcitement, but it was jubilant. It was proper. We're still going here. We're continuing, and it also showed as well that in those dark moments, in those moments where we needed to get pulled out, players were coming right up the park and scoring. Ralston coming right into that box is a credit to him, and that's a fair point, Gary. When you were talking about player of the season, he could have been a contender, couldn't he have?
Absolutely. As I say, for his goals and his assists and his defending, I think when you go to places like Dingwall and Tynecastle and with Tony Macaroni and things, I think you need players like Tony Ralston in your team that's going to get their hands dirty, basically, and dig in when you need to, kind of thing. Because it's all very well and good having quality players like Jota and flashy players like Kyogo and things like that, and you need players like Maeda who will do the legwork for you, and Ralston who's not afraid to slide into a challenge. We came into the second half of the season, and after the winter break, there was the delay to the restart kind of thing. We managed to get the season stopped kind of early. The winter break started early rather. I know there was a big kick up for a certain team, but we came back. And do you think that the game against Rangers at Celtic Park was one of the most unbelievable atmospheres I've ever encountered? Do you think the fact that there was no Rangers fans in the stadium kind of just pushed the players over the line that night? Like they sent them out and just basically tore into them right for the start?
I think so, but I think it was also the fact that we had a little bit of a break before then. We'd a bit of a break. We had a lot of players rested up over that winter break, and I think Celtic want to come back with a sort of vengeance. And the first game at Ibrox, Celtic had lost 1-0, and I think we wanted to press on and get 3 points ahead. I think every player, every fan was up for it. Whether the fans were there or not, I think Celtic still would have won the game comfortably. I just felt that every player was in the mood to score consecutively, and that's been the story of the season. Celtic love a goal, and then before you've went and, you know, got your pie, or before you've decided to sit down, they score again. So,
Yeah,
you know, 3 goals in the first half. You know, I think that was the goal where we scored, and then it was Hatate that scored, and then I think it was about a minute later, less than a minute, a ball comes into the box and
and a
Abada's on
bad
the
as
end
one
of it.
end it. Yeah,
It's just jubilant. It's just, and second half, obviously we take the foot off the gas a little bit, but
yeah,
Rangers come back in here. But again, the story of the season has been very accelerant, you know, throughout pieces of the game, and I think that next season Andrew want more. Andrew wanted for 90 minutes, so you
yeah,
know that second half now probably won't happen next season. It'll probably be, you know, if we won 3-0 in the first half, you're going to win 3-0 in the second half. It's going to be 6-0 at the end of the game. If you don't get
yeah.
6, then we're short. So, it's been. Do you think that'll be? Do you think that'll be something that Ange wants to improve on?
I don't think that the intensity will be as high for the second half. If we go it and you know, win the game 2-3-0 in the first half, the intensity won't drop as much as it has done this season in games. But I do think that he won't be happy. I think it was a game against Raith Rovers at Celtic Park in the Scottish Cup, where he was going absolute tonto at Carter Vickers passing the ball back to Joe Hart when we were 1 or 2-0 up, which was unbelievable to see. But it's just like, I do think he'll demand a wee bit more for his team, just to put teams away in the second half. They don't need to go for 90 minutes, but you know, if you go 2-3-0 up in the first half, go out and get a fourth straight away if you can, and then you know, then you can kind of almost take your foot off the gas and control the game. Obviously, try and keep a clean sheet, but you know, you're mentioning stars against Rangers. Rio Hatate, obviously that night lit up the Glasgow Derby, and you know, I think he's been hot and cold, but I think it's been a kind of fatigue issue that he's already spoke about. Do you think there's more to come from Rio Hatate?
Yes, Rio's a player that you know, it needs a break. You know, it needs a rest, needs a good rest. The Japanese boys, Maeda and Hatate and Ideguchi, they've already played this season, so it was a season 0.5 for them almost. So they were running off, you know, the spare batteries towards the end of the season. But you know, we could see the qualities right away, you know, in a lot of these players. But Hatate, you know, I think he's been great. But yeah, you're right. I think he just needed that break, you know, right now at the end of the season. But you know, in big games, he's came up and he's done a job for us. So again, another player that's fitted into the Ange system and caused problems. You know, Hatate's been great. You know, his balls have been good, his distribution's been good, his movement. I think his movement right away was excellent, and he predicts a pass before anybody else sort of sees it. I think even Celtic fans go, "How did you pick that pass? I didn't see that pass coming," and he outside his left foot. You know, a ball in. So again, it's been magic from him.
Yeah, as you say, the two of them have been absolutely phenomenal, and I think I kind of, as you say, we all seen it in Maeda earlier on, that although the goals weren't coming as much as we would have liked, the fact that his work rate, you know, he's a wee road runner, you know, he'll run and run and run all day long, and chasing balls that aren't there.
Maeda has been honestly the player I want to emulate forever. I think he's the guy that you would see if you could put him in a fitness class, he would win it. Like he was just a guy. See if you put him in a marathon, he would come in first just because his work rate's that good. He just work his way there. I think you know, he closes down so well, and he presses players just at the right time, and he's strong in his movement, and he can put a good ball in as well. So you know, Maeda, fantastic, and he likes to get in the box, and you know, contribute to goals. And I think we've seen a real green light for Maeda, and notwithstanding that, he's played a season and a half as well. And you know, do you think we'll see more and more of Maeda?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because there just aren't enough positions on the park for these players now, because especially the front three, the front 4 or 5. You know, you've got Kyogo and Giacomakis vying for a single striker position. You've got Maeda and Jota and Abada and Forrest, and you've got all these players that are wanting to play up top as well. So you've got O'Reilly and no Rogic anyway, but O'Reilly, Hatate, McCarthy is there as well. Turnbull, yeah, Turnbull as well. There's so many options in that midfield. You could chop and change. I just imagine Ange sitting in the house now with a tactics board, just having different teams they could play, different styles of football. But no, it's a great position to be in, without a doubt. But you almost kind of want to see a bit of consistency sometimes. And I think when we've had the same defence now and the same goalkeeper for the majority of the season, Joe Hart has played 57 games for Celtic. That's incredible, considering they only came in at the start of the season. That shows you how many games these guys have played already. Do you know what I mean? And as I say, like the games against Rangers have been pivotal, because even when you look at the winner against the winning game against Ibrox, Aaron Ramsey opens the scoring. I think they had another couple of balls into the box, and I don't know about you, but I was genuinely thinking they could do us like we done them in February. I was very, very worried, but the timing of the goals that day at Ibrox with Rogic, with Carter Vickers, killed them.
I think that game at Ibrox, I was the opposite of Gary. I felt as though once they scored, I felt the game was only going to go one way, because I always thought Celtic are going to score. I said that to my cousin. I said, don't worry about it, we'll score, and we did immediately. And getting the 2 goals consecutively was fantastic, and it was just great to win at Ibrox. I think there was all talk about Celtic fans had just been allowed back, and there was an allocation talk, and the fans were obviously wanting Rangers to try and claw something back towards the league. I don't think they maybe thought they could get something, but they really had to win that game to stand a chance of competing towards the end. But that goal by Carter Vickers going off fantastic, and then it's just a case of seeing it out, and the back four done fantastic. The midfield worked very hard in the second half, and that's when you kind of seen the opposite side of Ange. I don't think Ange ball was there that day necessarily, but the first half you might have said yes, but second half was just a defensive masterclass, and I knew at 60 minutes in, game's done. And so did one of their fans on the stand. I think it's.
Aye. I love that. That would be the most. That's one of the iconic moments of the season, Giant. It's done. No, but I mean, when you look at it, obviously, coming into the split, then obviously, we had to wait pretty much to the last day to find out who we were going to be playing, because obviously Motherwell ended up sneaking in there. Livingston get dumped out to the bottom 6. Probably luckily for us, I know we were near enough there, but nobody needs to go to the Tony Macaroni again, Jane. So obviously, you go and beat Hearts at Celtic Park 4-1. I think that was basically, we needed a point against Dundee United. I don't know if you went to Tannadice that night, but I was getting very much vibes of Venegoor of Hesselink winning the league for Tommy Burns. It became that kind of feeling of a game midweek up at Tannadice.
It was getting over that final hurdle, getting over the line. That game was just, obviously it was a draw. It ended up being a draw. I think Dundee United needed something from that game to get their European spot. So it was good that Celtic had managed to get over it, get over that final hurdle. I felt as though we maybe limped towards the end of the season. Obviously the game at Celtic Park against Rangers, I think we probably could have played a lot better. We could have got tighter, and I felt as though Rangers wanted to step up. They were obviously fighting for their game on Thursday. I think that was their main focus, but you can tell that they were up for a game, whereas I think Celtic were a bit passive. But it was the end of the season. I don't know what you think, Gary, but we played a lot of Ange ball, but we did limp. We did limp to get there a little bit, I felt.
Yeah, I did. I thought the team selection at Tannadice that night was a wee bit. I'm not quite sure what the team selection was. There's players there that wouldn't normally have played, and I don't know what the reason was. Maybe just wanted to try something different. But I thought I was disappointed with the way the game finished, in my opinion, because I felt for the last 5-10 minutes, and I know Dundee United were kind of on top. They had a goal disallowed. They'd hit the post. Was it Ralston off the line? That iconic, again, Joe Hart celebrating with Ralston was superb. But I was just disappointed because we almost seemed to kind of just waste time and run the clock down for the last 5-10 minutes rather than whip a ball and try and go for the winner. So I was quite disappointed, but quickly got over it. A few beers done me, and I was celebrating again.
League champions, mate. League champions, and that's been the story. I mean, Celtic have known when the questions come up, how do we answer? How do we answer beating Livingston on a plastic pitch? Well, we played James Forrest, and James Forrest has a fantastic game, man of the match, scores. We play against Dundee United in that game you mentioned earlier on the season. Abada comes up with the winner. We played in games that, I can even remember the game against, I can't remember, was it Motherwell? Or who was it? We played somebody and I can't remember who it was. Basically, we scored at the last minute. Who was the other last minute winner that we scored this season?
Dundee
again.
Giakoumakis,
Giakoumakis, aye. So you've got to look at these games, and we've come up with answers, but we've done it in a style in which the Celtic fans can be proud of. We've looked at these players and looked at the quality all season, and how many times do we talk about the quality of the players that we've brought in? We adore these players. We adore Jota, Carter Vickers, Ralston, McGregor, Joe Hart, and now our top goal scorer, Giakoumakis.
Yeah.
I mean, the contribution of Giakoumakis towards the latter half of the season has been brilliant. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, there's moments that can define a player, and obviously that penalty miss against Livingston at Celtic Park would have put us top of the league. He misses it. It was a really poor penalty. I think Celtic came up with some sort of excuse at the time is to say that he was always the penalty taker, even though he was injured for most of the season so far. So listen, it works out well then, because he obviously went away. I know he was injured for spells. He got his head down, worked hard, and many people laughed at him. Many people slated him when he came out and says after the Dundee United game, and he says back in February, and he says we're the best team in this league. We've got the best squad of players in this league, and we're going to win the league. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's getting plastered up in dressing room walls and X, Y, and Z." And it went and backed it up.
That's it. He done that, and we can see he's a strong centre forward. You can tell that he scored a lot of goals. He scored a lot of goals in which, if you've not got that strength, you might not score. If you've not got that, that sort of presence, you might not score. But he's got the height, he's got the strength, and he's got the ability to put it in the back of the net. And we've certainly seen it towards the latter stages of the season, because I think, with that miss against Livingston, we thought, is this going to be the player that we want? And he has turned around and went, no, I'm going to be the player that you need. And he's been out of this world in terms of the goal threat. And it's been a different goal threat to Maeda, Kyogo, Jota and Abada all together. I mean, don't get me wrong, the front four, the front five have come up with different types of goals, but it just shows you how fantastic Celtic are, or Celtic have been rather, this season in terms of just attack.
I mean, obviously, what's been important for us this season as well that we've actually overlooked is the fact that there's been hoodoos at Celtic. Obviously, this season, we hadn't beaten Hibs at Easter Road since 2014, I think it was. We went and beat them 3-1, very dominant performance, and also that we hadn't won away from home since February of last year, and we went up to Aberdeen and put that to bed as well. So things like that just take that off your mind. And we hadn't beaten Livingston at the Tony Macaroni, that's gone as well. So this is, in terms of going forward now, that can't get thrown in your face. You can't say, "Oh, you've not beaten Hibs and such," because then you just go. I know we're still hearing about Inverness 20 odd years ago, but it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like it's games like that define our season, and Ange might not think anything of it, but the fans. It matters to the fans obviously as well. The fact that they've broken these hoodoos.
Yeah. Do you think, Gary, that we've been a little bit lucky this season as well? We've had a little bit of luck, just at the right time. And what I mean is, that 0-0 against Hibs, coming towards the end of the season, we looked at it as 2 points dropped. It was, looking as if Rangers could get a good, win against Motherwell, and the title's in their hands now. Do you think we've kind of had a little bit of luck this season in terms of that?
I think we've been lucky in terms of, I would agree with the fact that when we've dropped points, they've went and dropped points as well, and who expected them to drop points that day to Motherwell, because I think they went 2-0 up and then obviously lost 2 goals in the second half. So there's an element of luck, but I think that I can remember that Hibs game. It was, I nearly busted a blood vessel in here, screaming at the telly because it didn't seem to work. But it can't work every week, and there's going to be games when you're going to win 6-0 and be really dominant, and then there's going to be games where you're going to win in the 90th minute or 97th minute. And I actually think as bad as these games are, I love the games, because that's what makes your season. Because when you look back in a season review and you go, do you remember Anthony Ralston's last minute winners? Remember Abada scoring and Jota jumping into the crowd? It's memories like that, that you're not going to necessarily remember the teams that you beat 6-0. But you're going to remember the games that you win 1-0 in the last minute or 2-1. But I do think there has been an element of luck. But I think we've deserved our luck in terms of how we've went about this season. Because nobody expected us to be in the position we are, and the fact that I don't think any press has actually mentioned this. There's only one team in Scotland that's won a trophy this season, and it's us. Do you know what I mean? For all that we're hearing about Rangers and Hearts in the Scottish Cup final and Hearts in Europe and X, Y, and Z, we're the only ones that's lifted silverware so far this season. So. Obviously that will change tomorrow, and hopefully it's Ellis Sims and Gary Mackay-Steven that's lifting it rather than Rangers. But just in terms of the awards, then we've swept the awards this season. We've swept the silverware boards. We've swept the awards, not just our own awards, obviously, but the PFA Scotland. 6 Celtic players in the starting 11 for the team of the season. Were you surprised that there was maybe not more players for other teams in that team of the season?
No, I mean, Celtic have been, across the board. You look at the players that have performed, they stepped up consistently, that deserve to be there. Like Callum McGregor, it's just been consistent, relentless player of the season. Who out of the 6, who were the 6?
I'm trying to think who the 6 were actually. It would have been Joe Hart, Jota, Carter Vickers, Starfelt,
McGregor.
I think, was there somebody? They put Juranovic, I think, at left back because they put Tavernier at right back, if I'm right in thinking, which was bizarre. But I think the only 2 non-Celtic Rangers players were Charles Cook and it might have been Ramsey of Aberdeen. But it's crazy to think that after the season we had last year, when it all fell apart, the fact that it feels very much like we've gone back in time a couple of seasons and nothing's changed, and we're still the dominant team and we're still dominating awards, kind of thing.
I think that's important. That Celtic are top of the pile, as Tom Rogic says. We're a team that we want success, and we want it not fast, but we want it, as quickly as possible. And we were talking about a 2, 3, 4 year rebuild at the end of last. We were, no doubt about it. We were saying, if we can get a couple, as we said earlier in the programme, if we can get a couple of transfer windows for Ange, things might improve slightly. There's teams putting Aberdeen ahead of us. And, that's embarrassing. People were getting predictions, and I think Celtic were, sort of third, fourth, struggling a little bit. But, this season, the players have really stepped up, and they've deserved to be there because of the way in which they put the passion behind the badge, and they've played their football. They've been so good. They've been so good at winning the ball back. I think this season has been one of the seasons that you can really see desire to win the ball back as quickly as possible. I don't know if you've seen that, Gary, but I think
I think there's a level of hurt with the players that were there last season and had to suffer. I can remember seeing scenes when the fans welcomed back the team for Tannadice on the Wednesday night, and there was thousands there, and there was fireworks and pyro and everything, just singing. And I can remember looking at the fencing around Celtic Park and thinking 18 months ago they were throwing the fences at the players. So it's crazy to think that we're in this situation where we're celebrating winning a league and cup double.
The fans being back as well, Gary, has helped a lot. I think the fans really help Celtic in many ways, shape and form. Just seen that Frankfurter hot dog. I would love one, Johnny. But the fans really back Ange. They back all the players. They give them the support, and they give them the support. After 90 minutes, after extra time. I think if we could be there all night, we would. We'd give them support in the street. The amount of time that we spend on Celtic, or the fans spend on Celtic, is nothing short of just remarkable. And I think the players really want to reward the fans. I think the players feel as though, if they could let the fans down, the fans mean so much to Celtic, and you get no better experience than hearing your name like Jota on the wing. I think Jota has just, he's loved the Celtic support, and the Celtic support have loved him, and that's been the driving factor for every player, every single player. Kyogo, Abada, Giacomakis now with a song. These players really have enjoyed it, and that's what we want. We want an environment where every player is thriving. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think obviously the important thing is, as Ange says, we go again next year bigger, stronger, because we never stop. Johnny Mulhern says Ange will definitely take Europe by storm next season. Just getting on to the Champions League, we're just going to finish on the Champions League. We can actually talk now about Champions League group stages. That's what we brought in the lights for. That's what the disco lights were brought in for. We'll finally get to see them in the Champions League nights. We'll hear that Champions League music. Who would be your ideal group? And I'm not talking about like a group that we could get out of, but who is the group that you'd want to see most come to Celtic Park?
Do you know who I'd love to see come? I think I've said this for a while. Liverpool. I want Liverpool. The reason I want Liverpool is just because they're a top class team. Just want to see how they get on against Ange Ball. You've got fantastic top dollar players in there, but can they do Ange Ball? Can they suffer against us? I'd love them. I'd love to get an Atletico Madrid, one of the Spanish teams involved. They'd be good, and then obviously you want one of your German teams. Again, they're good. I don't know who, but you ideally want an English team, a Spanish team, and a German team. What about yourself?
For me, I do want an English team, but I want Tottenham.
Okay,
I'd love to get Tottenham, especially if Conte stays. I'd love to stick it to him. To be honest, I think Liverpool would be superb as well as Man City. Do you know what I mean? I think any English team that we do get, or if we do get, would be amazing. Chelsea potentially, as a possibility. For me, in terms of Spanish teams, I'd love to get Sevilla, because I think 20 years after reaching Seville for the UEFA Cup final, I think it'd be a great chance to go back for the fans. I really like their stadium, actually.
I know.
That's probably the first time I've actually really seen it.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully they'll have water on sale.
I'm sure they'll bring the water back out for us when we come home or chatting. Like, I seen one of the boys on Twitter, Paul Boyle. I don't know if you follow him. He's part of it is absolutely superb. He's just tweeted there. I think my dog's a Rangers fan. I've just caught him sniffing the toilet bowl.
Anyway, I just hope when we go to Seville, mate. I just hope that Ryanair have get a couple of
special
decent,
chartered flights.
charters, a couple of decent charters. We'll have the guy who's been out this afternoon. He'll be at the front and he can tell all the jokes and stuff like that. He can do the tannoy and the PA, mate. That would be my ideal scenario. But we've got that Champions League music next year, mate, and the Tuesday, Wednesday nights, midweeks at Celtic Park that you just absolutely, you're actually a top Celtic fan then, aren't you? You just feel as though you're in the world.
And do you know what's brilliant as well? Like, I mean, providing we don't go into the Europa League after it, you've got a Tuesday, Wednesday, but then you've got a Saturday at 3:00. How good does that sound? I know it sounds stupid, but it's like it's the wee things in life that I hated the Sunday 4:00 kickoffs, 3:00 kickoffs, 1:00 kickoffs. It's not a Saturday 3:00. That's your football. But listen, it's been brilliant to get you on, John. Honestly, as I say, this is the last episode of the season. Johnny Mulhern says, Ryan, that will give us such a discount. Quote Rangers Seville for 20% off. No, but as I say, guys, I don't know what's going to happen next season. Obviously, hopefully we'll come back with the podcast bigger, stronger, pushing the pod. Might get that hashtagged. I can't really use the other one that Peter Crouch uses, but we'll use pushing the pod. So as I say, listen, just keep liking the page. There's so many liking the page, interacting with the page. Check out our YouTube channel as well. I'm going to push that for next season. I'm going to do the Club 42. So we're going to visit all 42 league clubs in Scotland, do a bit of YouTube content for them. But as I say, like it's been a great season. We've won the league and the cup. And who'd have thought it? We got 6 weeks off now where we don't have to play any qualifiers. Get to play friendlies, and then obviously go to Australia in November, December. But in the meantime, guys, keep liking the page, and we'll be back in the summer. And
honestly, Gary, it's been a pleasure. I've came on board this season, a bit like the likes of Maeda and Idaguchi and Hatate. I've just came in and I've done very well this season, mate, with the podcast. I've absolutely loved it. I think the content will continue, and as you say, mate, we'll get bigger, better, and stronger. And I can't wait for next season, mate. This is the thing. We've got a drought. It's almost like, we want more Ansball, but we can't get it. So it's been tremendous. And I honestly can't thank you enough, mate, because I've really enjoyed the podcast. Love talking about Celtic. All of the gifts that have been provided to myself, mate, and everything that's been done. So it's been a great season. But we never stop. We don't stop at half time. We don't stop at the end of the game.
That's quite a good accent, actually. That's quite an impression.
Stop at the end of the game.
Aye.
Stop when the players celebrate. That's it. We need to celebrate. This season's been remarkable, and hail, hail.
That's it. I mean, as I say, like it's like people like yourself, Paul, PG and Dak, guys like yourselves that have came on and gave up your time and done the show ways, the kind of thing, talked about Celtic. It really does mean a lot because we get that content out there. Going to try and push for fan media next year, hopefully. And as I say, just really get the name out there, Celtic FC Appreciation as a name, and then hopefully, as I say, who knows what we can get next season. But cheers anyway, John.